think it's good for right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. This mic, guys, has been screwing with me. So I think she might be on her last licks, which, yeah, might be on her last licks. That mic's been 6 years old at least.
Satan mic.
Well, let me put it this way: I've dropped that mic like twice, but it's never. Here's the thing: it's never my fault. That thing unscrewed the other day. Remember when we were doing that? And it just went boom, and I was like, "God damn it!" And I've never had problems.
Now you have problems.
Yeah, but even before that, I had
probably.
Yeah, but I don't know. Can I bend the pins back in it or something? Right now, it's not making the sound, from what I could tell. That's why I'm wearing this headset. For those of you wondering,
by putting it up this way, something's in
I
the
wonder if
proper
gravity.
place.
Yeah, I wonder if gravity sideways was a factor, but it just did it there, and I don't know how to
Or
fix
maybe
it.
you're losing your mind.
Yeah, then all my viewers would too, because they keep saying, "Hey, what's that sound in the background?" But
that's Pancake messing with you.
Yeah, turns out this is all a psychological test trial.
And you're going to fail. I want echo
So,
effects. I need sound effects. You're going to fail.
Yeah, I see. It's still doing the.
Oh, jeez.
I wonder what it is. Like, I might just have to get a new one at this point, but whatever.
Well, does it do it all the time or just when I speak?
All the time now. Like, it's at the point where I think I have to start switching out the mic. But it's a shame because I love that mic. This mic is good, but not for over there. Like, I would get two of
you
these.
use this at your desk? That's the thing? And you move it over here for the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I don't think that moving it's really what caused the problem.
Right.
I think one of the prongs in there bent or something.
Could be.
But I can't, like, when you look at it, you're like, it's perfectly fine. But it keeps cutting in and out. So we might just have to use the GoPro one for this.
Okay.
So I don't think I have to monitor, as long as I'm not getting full static. But, yeah, I'm going to have to figure that one out in the end. So, I mean, I can leave it like that.
Can we use the same mic and not use this one?
Because
put it in the
this
middle?
one's not, this one's directional. That one's omnidirectional.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it might just be, I don't even remember what that mic's called, but I would get the exact same one. I like that.
Audio Ted. No, Audio Tech says on the side.
Shout out to Audio Technica. They do like all of the, they do all the good stuff. So it's a shame.
Send a free mic. We'll give you extra cat.
Yeah. I have to look those up after this because I think it's time. I'd get another one of these for the pod, and then, like, if it's just you and me, and then use that mic if there's multiple people on. So that way we have two omnidirectional ones rather than one omnidirectional one and one directional. So I could swap them out that way.
As long as you could use it when there's more than one person on this side. Because sometimes it's not just me.
Well, let's say if Mike was on and we did the 4-man thing again.
Yeah.
First off, I know what people are thinking. Why don't you just get 4 mics? But the table's not long enough, one, for multiple mics at that level.
Right.
So I don't think we could do that in this podcast studio.
Yeah, it's not that.
That's not. I don't think we could do that right now. So ideally, I would get 2 of these and then 2 of these, and then swap them out per podcast. That's the way I would do it. But
your budget, whatever you want to spend it on.
It's for right now. But I didn't have any problems with it yesterday. So
Must be me.
Something with that. It's not the cord. It's something with the prongs inside or something. I have to figure it out. But sorry if you can hear that static one more time, because I know last time the podcast that noise was in there the whole time and I couldn't edit it out. It's impossible. So either way, we'll take it from the top. I was just saying before, we're on episode 55.
Yeah.
I said that there was no news. I said it's all kidnappings and stuff. I know they just found another serial killer, I don't know.
Gilgo Beach guy down in the Hamptons,
with the giant head or whatever.
Yeah,
fucking freaking freak.
Yeah,
literally. But my mom says that there's Biden news, I guess.
Well, political news. Yeah. Yep. So the IRS whistleblowers came forth. They brought their evidence of $17 million being funneled to the Biden family.
17 million?
Yep, in total, between the different groups.
And that falls under, is that the bribes thing that I saw?
It's foreign entities giving money. And it's through shell companies. Remember that we have them saying, Hunter Biden, I think, said, they'll never figure it out. We have so many shell companies, it'll take them 10 years to figure out where all the money goes. Well, they figured it out. But what was interesting was there were 2 whistleblowers. A man by the name of Shapley, who we've known, and then there was Whistleblower X. Whistleblower X just showed up. Turns out his name is Mr. Ziegler. Ziegler is a gay, married Democrat. Not that matters, but for those who want to go hyper, he's a conservative out to get blah, blah, blah. He's the complete opposite of your MAGA conservative type person. He's the one who said, we had concerns. We wanted to interview the adult children because normally you would do that when you see these payments going. Right. We were told that that's not going to happen.
So what happens now with, like, do you go after a hunter or do you go for the president? Or do you wait till, well, you can't go for the president right now, can you?
Well, hunter is technically a private citizen. The Department of Justice would have to bring charges against him. Or a state attorney general, if any of these funds were, you know, sent somewhere, like the DC's not a state, but say one of these shell companies was in, Texas. The Texas Attorney General could prosecute for something illegal. Right.
If it's a Democratic state, they're just going to get swept.
Now, the father is a different story, because that's immediately should be considered for impeachment if you have the evidence.
Right.
They seem to have the evidence. But as we learned from recent experiences with impeachments, you get impeached in the House, you get removed from office in the Senate. It's probably until you have an overabundance of information and facts, and crimes, which they're getting right now, you got to convince enough Democrats in the Senate that this president is just that bad and he has to go.
Like their numbers, like the numbers that they have in that, like they can't. They like the idea that they have a Democratic president in. So I think in their eyes he can do no wrong. You know what I mean? Like they're not gonna say, "Oh well, you want Kamala in?"
No, well, that's a whole other issue, and that is true. And some of them are thinking about that and thinking of putting somebody else in. That's the rumor, but it's more about it has been done. I mean, you can. They have removed a president from office, or they've tried to, they've gone that far as to vote on it. Obviously, Donald Trump was impeached twice, but they did not remove him from office in the Senate.
That's why I think a lot of people get confused because they see the head. Like that's the perfect example of journalism where they look at the headline, "President's been impeached," and you know what the definition of impeachment is, but it doesn't mean that he's been pulled out of office.
Right. Clinton was impeached also, but he was not removed from office. So it happens, but you reach a point. The subsequent issue, normally you can't bring charges against a sitting president, only certain charges, like this type of stuff. So they would wait till, like what they're doing with President Trump now. They're going after him because he's no longer president. Okay? So for somebody like Biden, once he's out of office, you could prosecute him with crimes if there are
for Nixon wasn't impeached.
Nixon resigned before he was kicked out. He resigned.
How many years in was he before he resigned? Like
I think it was his second term, right? Was it like the start of his second term? Remember these things take forever.
That's true. So
even if they started impeachment now, right, it's going to take a while. You got the summer recess. They're all gone in August. So in my opinion, they're building the case in the public, which is very hard because media doesn't cover it, right? So this is all going to have to be handled until somebody picks it up and starts talking about what's going on here. A lot of citizens know it, but the media is not making a big deal out of it. They're making a big deal out of Trump. You hear that constantly, which, now we're on our third indictment. So that was the other news this week, that he received a letter from Jack Smith basically saying you're going to get indicted in Georgia for whatever's going on down there with the election stuff, which will lead to like what we had in New York, similar situation. Indictment, he gets arrested, blah, 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 he's got to present. So we're going on the third one with him. And the ultimate goal, which I don't even think the Democrats are hiding it anymore, they just want something to stick so that he can't run for office.
It's how many times can you throw him in? Like one of my friends at the gym, she's very anti-Trump and very liberal, he says it is kind of a witch hunt in the sense of how much can you throw at him before people, like, even he's like, I don't believe in any of this stuff anymore.
Right.
He's like, it could be, but I don't care at this point.
You just need one thing because of the 14th Amendment. I think it's the 14th Amendment that says you can't run for office if you're under indictment.
It's kind of ironic in the sense of if they do get him on something, like, great, I guess, for them. But if they don't, you're just fueling, like every time you try putting him through these trials and trials and trials, you're just feeding the fire for his next campaign.
Well, understand, this isn't about him. We keep saying this. This is election interference. This is Soviet communist type stuff. This is what they do in third world countries. This is why every citizen, I don't care how you feel about Donald Trump, needs to say, no, you can't do this. You can't prosecute. I mean, they went crazy at the thought of Trump, looking cross-eyed at Biden when he was running against him. Let alone, imagine if he said we're going to indict him for something. That would be election interference. You can't do that. That's why they held back.
Exactly.
Right. That's why they held the Hunter Biden information, the laptop. That was election interference. They kept saying it wasn't true. Well, now we know from FOIA requests it was absolutely true, and it was suppressed by the FBI, quite possibly by the Attorney General under Donald Trump, because it was an election year. That's election interference. And enough voters have said when they polled them, including Democrats, we wouldn't have voted for Biden if we knew this.
Yeah.
So that's considered election interference.
But then I think it comes down to who would you have voted for at that time. I don't even remember who else was running. What, Elizabeth Warren? No, she didn't make it through the primaries. There
was like third party, Marianne something. I think she was. But that's the problem, right? That's not the point. The point is you have to have free and fair elections, and that includes you can't suppress information.
Right, I agree.
Right. And worse, they promoted false information on the sitting president about some Russian dossier that turned out to be false.
To anyone who says that they wouldn't have voted for Biden, if they wouldn't have voted for Biden if they need more information, I wonder who they would have voted for.
Well, maybe they wouldn't have voted at all, which is your right too. Yeah. You don't have to vote.
I guess.
But at least then you're not putting somebody into office that enough citizens felt had too much. There was something there that he didn't deserve to sit in office. And now we're finding out that that's absolutely true. More and more evidence is coming out confirming what a lot of people have been saying, that Biden allegedly has been on the take for decades, using his positions, selling our country out. That is by definition treason. For any president. I don't care who you are. I watched
someone do a whole breakdown, and I've always thought about this, but someone did a whole breakdown on Nancy Pelosi and how she's worth $120 million, but only has a salary of $223,000. Like $223,000. So when you do the math on how many years she's been in office, it's like that doesn't equal $120 million. And then people try to make the argument, well, it's not her, it's her husband, because he's like a big real estate guy. But I mean, he's got his own net worth that's much higher than hers. But I mean, that's insane corruption if that's true.
Well, but we're coming to understand how the machine works, and everybody since I was young always scratching their heads. How are they making money? Well, now we understand why. If for nothing else, their hatred of Donald Trump, the candidate and the leader, and his MAGA background has exposed a lot of dirty things in our government. Things like there was this woman recently in the Midwest, just retired. I think she was a senator. She's been doing it for umpteen years, right? So how do they make their money? Every time she runs for office, she takes a loan. She gives her candidacy a loan so that she can run. Right? They pay her back. They pay her back an exorbitant amount of interest, and she pockets the money.
I forget who else did this recently.
Keep in mind, SBX. Everybody remember that conversation a few months ago?
SBX?
SBF. I always get that wrong. I get him confused with the company.
Fried.
Yes, but his company. What was the company?
FTX.
FTX. Thank you. That's just one of many that we know from looking at it was funneling money to the Democratic Party. Maybe the Republicans too. I don't know, but most of it was going to Democrats. So now we're understanding we're paying for this corruption, right? Our tax dollars and citizens, we pay for it.
The real eye-opener was when, remember, Nancy got caught dumping a lot of money into Tesla, and then I think within a month, Biden goes, all government cars or trucks are going to be Tesla specifically. It's like, okay, Nancy.
So she's not alone. That's the point. This is well, here's an interesting comment. I was listening to Charlie Kirk, and this was during the week.
Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. And he brought up a very good point for people who live in the D.C. area, okay? Washington, D.C. has these amazing buildings. They are building, and the FBI wants to build, as you've heard. They want to build these facilities, right? Okay. He says you walk around there, and they're putting up colossal buildings. I think the eighth wealthiest cities or suburbs is in the Washington, D.C. area. Manicured lawns, state-of-the-art. It's like what California's...
And then when you go out there, outside of that, it's like just a shithole.
But think about it. There's nothing made in Washington, D.C. There are no businesses.
Yeah, it's all government.
It's not even a state. That's all your tax dollars funding all the people in that city Go to some other cities. They're all run down. They're falling apart. New York City is a shithole. Chicago is becoming a shithole. San Francisco is a nightmare. Okay? Drug addicts, 10 cities, the whole thing.
I might have said this on the podcast. I've definitely said this statistic to a bunch of people now. But so one of the things that, so apparently the United States of America is like third in mass shootings or something like that in the world, right? If you were to take out our 4 major cities, it would instantly go down to like bottom of the of gun violence, or it might be different kinds of violence, but it's just like the general overview of violence.
Yes.
If you were to take out the top 4 cities, we instantly go from the 3rd worst to like the 3rd best, right? Or vice versa, whatever. And when you look at those 4 major cities, all Democratic with the highest, strictest gun laws.
Right.
It's so ironic how that works.
We're also 4 times more medicated than any country in the world. Yeah. It's not gun control. It's pharmaceutical control.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, but I agree. But
that's why people love to compare us with other countries. You know, oh, look at America. You all have these guns and you're all cowboys. No, that's never been the problem. We've had a history of guns and it hasn't been an issue. Certain other things have changed. And you're right. The lawlessness in this country, or the selective lawlessness, is impacting every citizen now. And I don't know, one of my articles is talking about the movie theaters, right? I don't know if you saw it, but maybe I didn't send it over yet. That's like a microcosm, and they have a very good point. It's a microcosm of our societies today. So,
well, since you already brought it up, we might as well go right into the articles then. Right? I believe that was the
movie theater one.
What is everyone really talking about?
Yep.
Now, I read this title and I was like, what the hell does this even mean?
BarbenHeimer?
BarbenHeimer. What's everyone really after? Right? This is the movie one you were talking about, right? Yeah.
He combined Barbie and Oppenheimer in one because it was his point was this is supposed to be in the summer. You always have a blockbuster weekend, right? Yep. You had Mission Impossible a few weeks ago that did really well. Now you've got Barbie coming out. I think it just came out a couple of nights ago, and Oppenheimer.
Right.
Okay. His point is, now I didn't know this either, but just a couple days ago, a 63-year-old man in the theater bought his tickets online because nowadays you can't buy the tickets there. God forbid you have human contact. He bought preferred seating, okay? Because now we have the elite class.
Preferred seating?
Apparently. I have experienced that too. He bought preferred seating. Okay, all that's what they do now in the theater world. He gets there and there's a couple sitting in his seat. He proceeds to ask the guy, could you move because I paid for those tickets. He gets beaten in the head, punched. They chased him out of the theater. They have a picture of the guy leaving the theater, right? The poor man's on the floor, blah, blah, blah. Did nothing wrong, this guy. He bought these tickets online. He paid extra.
He got run out, so he got beaten.
No.
Oh, they ran out the guy.
They ran out the guy because out of the blue, he starts pummeling the 63-year-old man who's, I guess, with his wife or somebody else, just because he dared say.
I'm starting to realize this is a dark podcast.
but this is the world, and that's the point of this. This is reflective. He goes, but
people come to us to lighten the mood.
But he had a good point. He goes, so for the luxury of going to movie houses nowadays, right? Ticket prices, which shockingly, it's like $10 on average. It used to be $9.16. I think you don't get away with that at $20 in our area.
In a movie theater?
Right. This is the average around the country. So around $10 a ticket.
Even then, I thought that was...
It seems kind of low, yeah. But for that, I don't know if you've been to a theater. You haven't been to a theater in a while.
I haven't been to a theater in probably over a decade.
It's sticky.
Yeah,
it's never cleaned.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he points out that they're very dark, they're very dingy. Half the time you're wondering if somebody's even running the projector. He goes, right now they're either too hot or too cold because nobody regulates it. The best was because you got Gen Zs working there. That if you ask them a question, they act like, how dare you, because I shouldn't be here working.
Yeah.
Like they have a chip in the shoulder.
When was the first
that they have to work? There's nothing on the shelves. The line is incredibly long because the same kids selling you your snacks cleaned the bathroom, took your ticket.
There's literally no happiness.
And has to clean it up. But this is a microcosm of the world we're in right now. And he goes, "What? They're trying to get people Hollywood, which has a strike right now, by the way.
Yeah,
right?
The writer's strike. We talked about that last week, right?
Yeah, they're trying to get people back into the movies, which is a shame because grandma's generation, you saved money to go to the movies. It was a special treat. Nowadays, it's overpriced and you're getting less for your money.
The only time it might be worth it is the AMC ones where you get like a full dinner, but it's like, I doubt that's like good.
I don't think that's
any.
Remember, they don't have the workers. Nobody's cleaning up. Nobody's setting it. Nobody's running things. And now when you've got outright lawlessness in the aisles, people getting beaten up and the guy just walks out for doing nothing more than he bought a ticket and wanted the seat he paid for.
This is my ticket. And the guy was like, nah. Right. Man, that is depressing. But
again,
all the more reason why going to movies suck. Stay at home, get it on Netflix.
Similar to flying right now. We talked about this too last time. How many more incidents do we have to see on these airplanes?
Did you see that they just voted on if airline pilots and stewardesses and basically the crew should have to, or should the ones that are not vaccinated be allowed to go back on flights, right? Or like, do they want to get rid of the requirement? And they voted no. Like Republicans mostly voted no, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of how to word this because I don't want to pull up the article. But basically, it's like, remember, one of the reasons that we had for the flight issues that we are having is kind of the fact that COVID, a lot of these pilots didn't want to get these shots, right? And because of that, a lot of flights got changed around. They cut their people by a crazy percentage, if you remember, the amount of their staff, if they will. And
they wouldn't let people fly if they weren't vaccinated, and they had to.
Well, not even people. Just we're talking the crew. So now
that's what I mean. I'm talking about the crew.
They just did a vote on should they be allowed back on, even though they're still not vaccinated, and both Republicans and Democrats said no.
So what do you mean? They're trying to put something legislation through regarding it, or was it the union saying it? Was it the pilots and the?
Let's find it. I know I could find it. So Republicans. And
you have to keep in mind too, pilots have to go through regular physicals every year, okay? And they were finding, I don't know, for whatever reason, many of them were not passing their physicals, so they couldn't fly. So
here it is. So Fox Business.
An amendment to reinstate the clients.
So it's to reinstate for refusing COVID-19. They had a thing on all the members and please turn off your ad blocker. Hey, companies, no one's going to turn off ad blocker. I had a whole thing on it, but basically the House passed it. Vote.
Yeah, but it might not be. Depends on what they didn't vote for, because sometimes it's other stuff
that's
in it, and they don't want it for that reason.
The bill addressed airline refunds and reimbursement obligations to passengers, enhanced protections for passengers with disabilities, boost hiring of air traffic controllers, shore up aviation safety, unlock funding to modernize airport infrastructure, invest. Yeah. So to your point, there's a lot more.
There's a lot of other stuff in there that might be reason why they voted it down, and not necessarily about the individual workers. But having said that, like I started to say, you also have this problem that they created with the vax, where some of these individuals are not healthy enough to fly. They're not passing their annual physical that they have to go through for whatever reason. Could be, remember, theirs is more stringent than your average worker because they're flying hundreds of people in the air. Yeah. Something happens to them, we got problems.
That's why they get paid the big bucks.
I know somebody has told me that the private jets, a lot of the flyers are requiring 2 pilots.
Yeah.
Because if something happens to the one pilot, they
need
a backup.
I also learned that when flying, just in general, the pilots are not allowed to have the same meals. So one can order one thing and the other can't order.
Okay, that's a good idea.
There's a
poisoning
one
or
gets
something.
Food poisoning. So I was saying on stream the other day, I've been watching House.
Yeah.
You know, and I just watched an episode last night where everyone on the plane gets sick and they're trying to figure out why. And I was like, man, if this were to happen, it's pretty wild what you would have to do. Because strongly recommend that show. You forget how good that show is.
Yeah, you told me that. I was never a big. I didn't get into it when it was on, but who knows? Maybe.
Well, I'll say this: season 1 is like he's going through cases and it's interesting. Season 2 is when the story really starts. Of like, it's more than just medical. It's he's going to jail.
His
he's got
stuff,
an addictive problem.
His personal stuff.
Yeah. So now
remember, we only fly with Uncle Ray and Uncle Bob.
yeah. So they're both pilots.
Anybody who can fly.
So perfect.
This day and age. That's what you do.
Okay, so back to this article though. What everyone's really talking about after BarbenHeimer. Now, once magical movie theaters quality. Okay, so this article is about what you were talking about.
Yes, that's what. That's the article I referenced, because they're trying to get everybody to come back to movies, and the strike that's going on too is certainly not helping the Hollywood industry. They could be done. I mean, we may see a radical adjustment in Hollywood, because if they don't get their act together, who goes to the movies anymore?
Here's what's gonna
I'm shocked that they had people going.
I think someone said it best, and they're an actor who's part of the strike. He said, basically what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up losing. But what happens is, so before the strike, they stock up on all these scripts and stuff. So they have, so right now it's just a waiting game. It's who's going to run out of money first, right. Hollywood or the people who are writers?
Right.
I'll give you a guess. I'll give you a hint.
Yeah, yeah.
Hollywood's going to win that fight.
Yeah.
So I think it is going to get back to like the whole. I think, like, I guarantee you right now, Hollywood's working on the chat GPTs and stuff to try and make new scripts, and so that they don't even have to pay these people.
Well, that's another. I had the article, but I didn't grab it. That's another issue. A lot of these actors now are saying you do not have the right to use me and sell it to.
But what's interesting about this is the people who the people who actually own the rights aren't really so much them, it's their agent. Like, you can be a person and like it's a weird thing how it works. But
well, that's what I'm saying. I think they're trying to figure that out now. What's legally the situation here?
I bet you Hollywood right now, besides doing a chat GPT thing, is trying to figure out how they can get around that rule, so that even if you're anti giving away your likeness, I think Hollywood already owned it to begin with somewhere, so you have to go through your contracts again or figure what. I don't know how that works, but I don't think it'll matter.
In the old days, you were contracted to a studio, like when back in the days, Charlie Chaplin and even Jimmy Stewart, like that. So you worked just for Paramount. You only made Paramount movies. You only made MGM movies. Then you had the independent worker, and later on, it was whatever person was funding the movie, and you could work for anybody. So now we're in a point where we're going back to kind of the old way. Does the studio own you or not? Do they own your AI? Because now we're in a whole new world. So again, that's going to add to the whole aura, if you will, of Hollywood, where if I could AI somebody, do I really need them for the movie?
Right. And if they say, hey, I won't do any recordings for you, that's fine. We have tons of movie footage that we can go back and grab from and recreate what we need.
And who owns that?
Yeah. So Hollywood owns that.
Right. They own the rights to it.
You don't own the movies that you're in. You just own your likeness.
If you sign off specifically on that, because that's the kind of stuff that wasn't in the contract. So this is a whole new realm.
I think it's definitely dependent on whatever your contract was when you made those movies.
Yeah, but the contract didn't say, in the instance of artificial intelligence, this is a fairly new exposure, a new concept, and you got to rework all these contracts, because now all of a sudden you're introducing something new that nobody agreed to, because it's not like it was a cartoon and they're using your voice. This is something in a whole new realm.
I'm with the writers on this one. Like, of course I want them to get paid, because some of them do make phenomenal scripts and stuff, but it really bothers me when I see these celebrities down there. Like, did you see freaking
we talked about this in the last podcast.
But there's one recently of Mark Ruffalo who's in like all these hobo clothes. It's like, dude, you're a almost 100 millionaire. Like, you shouldn't even be showing your face down there.
He's a Marxist, so
yeah, it's what a freak, dude.
He's a Marxist.
That guy, yeah. If they got rid of him from the Hulk and brought someone else in, it would not faze me at all. It's just
he's been in other movies,
just so
and he's
to do, though. Like, these people are struggling to live, which is why they are on the street. How about? Well, I'm not someone who will say give your money away, but I mean, it's kind of disingenuous to go down there and say I'm with you guys when, again, you can be, but you shouldn't be down there picketing. That's well, yeah,
and they do bring attention to the cause, because nobody's going to care if a bunch of writers are picketing.
Fair,
right?
But don't pretend to be someone you're not, which is a homeless person.
Right.
He's like, I came from my painting. Like, he's got paint all over him and stuff. It's
and all of them, they have no makeup on. Yeah. The women, they come with no makeup. They come in like drab clothes to look like they're one of the workers.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, in the sense of, I bet you a PR team was like, hey, go down there and help, and you just had to do it. But I hope.
Well, some of them genuinely support the cause. They genuinely support the cause.
Sure, but you're not a writer. Yeah. It's like,
oh, we should talk about, since we're talking about the celebrities, that other big news this week. The Attorney General of Michigan, Nessel, she went after 16 electors who were Republicans. The irony is she's going after them because of whatever reason. And they have a commercial with Martin Sheen.
All those celebrities.
A bunch of celebrities that asked for the same thing in 2016, right before 2016. Right.
So they were allowed to do it, but then when the Republicans did it
it's not illegal to do.
Right.
And it was actually, they did a public service announcement about it. The crazy one from I shouldn't say crazy one. The one from
I think
Will and Grace, that actress, she was
Yeah.
having 2016 like she's some political
They expect
operative.
people to forget. and we don't, because now everything's recorded. You could have gotten away with that back in the 90s, early 2000s.
You know what? I think some of them, Chris, are just so out there that they don't see the similarity.
I think
they're right, and everybody else is wrong.
Yeah.
We're right, everyone else is wrong.
Yeah, they bank on you forgetting and not knowing like how to work the basic, like their realm of perception is so far gone.
Yeah, you're a peon. You don't know better.
That's
than,
like during the lockdowns.
I can't even think of that woman's
they were
name.
like, don't send your kids to school, and yet they have home teachers that are literally bringing the teachers to their homes to teach. It's like, oh my god.
They're just the derangement of some of them. I mean, Martin Sheen he's always been very politically operative.
Sheen's
his father. He's
right?
a A-list celebrity, and I don't agree with a lot of stuff, but you know, I think if you were to ask him, he would be somebody who would say, yeah, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. You are allowed to do it. We did, like, he's somebody who probably would see both sides of it. But some of these other ones, I mean, it's like, why do you even waste my time? They have no clue. Yeah. They just think who they are because they make a lot of money doing whatever it is they do. So they must be geniuses. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Anyhow, I want to mention
Might as well keep it dark. At this point, we're already.
Do I have another dark one? Depressing. This wasn't even that dark.
I want to see. I can't wait to see when I look at the analytics for when people click off. It's going to be like the second. So I'm going to put this one and the one after this together, because I think you and I are going to disagree on one of these. I did them together.
Two of these I did together.
Go ahead. So title is 41% of illegal immigrant group Biden admin release into wow, that's really weirdly written.
Yeah.
41% of illegal immigration group Biden admin released into United States never showed up for court dates, right?
Right.
So it's funny because we were just talking to someone on stream about this, because I made a friend last night, and she was saying her father, I mean, I won't go into detail, but basically this is the first time I've heard of someone like, I always thought it was a joke when someone gets a visa to come for 2 weeks and stays. I always thought that was like a very rare case. This is kind of what that is, right? They come over the border. They're said, hey, you have some sort of limited visa, and then they just don't follow it.
No, it's not a visa.
Okay.
They come over the border illegally,
right.
Okay? And that's common now. They're issued...
But illegal... So let's say I get a visa, right?
It's not a visa.
Right, but let's just say I get a visa for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? And I come to America for 2 weeks.
Yes.
And then instead of going back after the 2 weeks, I stay.
You're in violation of the visa.
So you would still be an illegal immigrant, right?
Well, if you stay, you're here illegally.
Yeah,
yes.
so you would be an illegal immigrant.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what you were saying. I thought you just meant if you come with a visa.
So once you break that visa and you stay, you're an illegal immigrant.
Right.
Yeah.
But at least these people got a visa, and you can track them.
For the most part, yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, at least you have a name and address. These individuals are coming over. They're supposed to be, because Florida sued the Biden administration, and there's a temporary restraining order was put in by the Florida federal judge who said, you cannot just release immigrants into the U.S. You have to track them, because that's what the Biden administration was doing. Sticking them on the airplanes in the middle of the night, everybody saw that, sending them all over the country. You're not supposed to do that. What happens is if you release them, they're given a summons that they're supposed to appear in court 60 days later. Well, that's a joke, right? Yeah. Just the concept's a joke.
No one's going to keep that.
So...
We have people who won't even show up for jury duty. You think?
I mean, this is... So it's ludicrous to us, and they treat us like we're idiots, our government. Like, this is okay. We're not morons. Nor are these people. I mean, I don't blame them. Come over. It's a joke.
Especially with what's going on down in Mexico. I'm going to assume this is mostly Mexico.
No.
Right.
They come through Mexico. That's the point.
Right.
They're coming from all over the world. Not anymore. Huge numbers are coming from Venezuela, Iran, Iraq.
Such a problem.
They're coming from Bangladesh. They're coming from all over the world, and they're just flooding into our country. There's no ruling rhyme or reason. But the point is, and I just mentioned this because they defied the order. 2,500 of them.
Out of how many?
Well, just recently, since that TRO was put in place.
TRO?
Temporary restraining order by the federal judge,
sure.
Saying you can't do that anymore. You must give them at least a summons. They have to appear.
Right.
Okay? They continued to let them come in and said, well, these people came in before the TRO was put in place.
Right.
Okay? So the judge, It's like, well, I guess there's not much you could do because on top of it, you have no mechanism to track them, right?
Yeah, you can't do anything after that point.
But he wanted to know the numbers, and the numbers were, I just bring it to everybody's attention. It works out to 41% of them. So 2,572 were released after the TRO. 1,065 of them never showed up within the 60 days. That's roughly 41%. Wow. That's just a couple thousand people. We've had, a couple million come over just since Biden's been president, okay? So to say that, they're going to show up at court to decide if they get asylum in this country, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. So on top of that, now I say this, the White House is now condemning Texas.
Right.
Texas was putting the buoys in the water with razors in them. They're running it across the Rio Grande.
Yeah. Okay. It's so for those of you that don't know, it's essentially just barbed wire. It's buoys in water with barbed wire on top.
Right. Now understand, the buoys don't come out of the water and grab people off the side of the shore. The only way you're going to get harmed is if you go in that water and go near those buoys.
So it goes over and under. Now, I will say, I think this is where you and I are going to disagree. I think that is a little inhumane to do. Again, you're trying to keep people out, but I feel like you can come up with a much better way than doing barbed wire on a... You see what I'm saying?
Sure, you could build a wall, but the administration won't allow them to build a wall.
Right? That doesn't help. It's almost like, I feel like a wall and barbed wire isn't really the answer here in the sense of, I feel like there's still a bunch of other things you could do for securing the border.
Yes, there was a policy, remain in Mexico, that Donald Trump had put in.
Right.
And it was working really well, meaning you have to stay in Mexico to be considered for asylum in this country.
Right.
Okay? And we were working with the Mexican authorities to do that. Day one, the Biden administration reversed that.
Day. Right, yes. But but this falls under Texas, right? This is Texas's issue.
Texas is doing it along their borders.
Right. I still feel like there's a better way than barbed wire on tubes, right? On both sides. Because you're going to have people that are obviously super desperate who are going to start throwing kids over there.
There's a million better ways to do it. Right. The point is the administration doesn't let you do it. They're running out of ways to stop it. Our federal government is supposed to be stopping this, and they are not. Instead, they keep saying, oh, there's no problem there, as droves and droves, 41%. In that previous article, are not even tracked.
But what I'm saying, if droves and droves are coming over, in probably like in Arizona, wherever, how are they getting through Texas? And I don't think the barbed wire is going to stop them.
That's only through the Rio Grande. There are other areas that you could get in through Texas. So he's just doing it in those areas where they had the most.
The most coming over.
Or it's very hard for them because remember the previous House, they cut all of the Border Patrol salaries, so there aren't enough workers down there. They've been cutting ICE workers, so there's not enough customs people. And they're coming over in droves to regular port, like legally they're coming through, but meanwhile they're coming in through all of our illegal areas.
Okay, how's that fall into place in the... So, what's considered... I don't want to say acts of war, but when you keep someone out using weapons, essentially, what does that fall under? Do you see what I'm saying?
That's called protecting your
borders, right? But protecting your borders versus so let me ask you this: if we had a wall across with guys that would shoot everyone that came over, what would that be? Is that still fall under protection, or is that an act of war against Mexico? People fleeing the country.
That is the debate. Mm-hmm. And every Democrat agrees. A country has a right to protect its borders. That's why they fund Ukraine with billions of dollars. They just don't apply it to here in America.
Right. Okay.
We have built walls in Israel and paid for them. We're building walls in Ukraine. They will not build it here.
Besides what the U.S. thinks, with the Geneva Conventions and whatever, when does another country step in and go, hey, U.S., you can't do that?
Well, Mexico has complained.
Well, of course,
that Texas has put it in the water.
That's like Russia and Ukraine complaining about each other.
They're saying that's in international waters and you can't do that.
But it's international borders up into our water,
international treaties, right?
So what I'm saying is, who steps in and says, "Hey, you're not allowed to do barbed wire on buoys"?
No one.
Okay, so then
a country has a right to protect its borders.
Okay.
Every country has that right, except for the United States.
But who decides that?
Well, the UN squawks. The Pope squawks. Oh, no, you have to let them in. A country decides it. If you poll the American citizens in this country, a majority of them wants, a majority of the people want a border. Mm-hmm. They want to know who's coming in their country.
Right. You can't just have, I'm very anti-open border.
We don't have a closed border right now.
But we have like a what? What do we call it? We have an
open border.
Not really though.
Yes.
Well, no,
it's open border.
Open border would mean that there would be no such thing as illegal immigrants. Because if it was open.
Right, but they're coming in without any sort of stoppage whatsoever and no accountability.
But that's not true because now we have barbed wire on boots.
Right.
Yeah.
So now that he did
it's not an open border.
He has stopped it, but not the whole border. This is just in Texas.
But we also have a process for putting people through the system even if they don't come through the system. So is that still identified
They're not
as open
doing
border?
the process. That's the point. They wanted to impeach the current president.
You still have the process. Just because they're not using the process doesn't mean the process doesn't exist. Open border to me would be there's no processing.
But you have to understand something. They'll tell you, the White House will say, well, fewer people coming over that border. We have it under control. The difference is now they have an arrangement. There's an app that the Biden administration gives you on the phone that they give you with our tax dollars. So you don't even have to come to the border. They will fly you into the country from places in Mexico. So you go onto the app. Now, are they coming over the border with the barbed wire? No. And they're getting flown in, and they're getting dumped into our cities, in the airports. They're released on...
Let's see. Let's play the game. Did Mom just knock the shit out of the mic? No, you're good.
They're released.
That's why you have these.
Yeah, they're released, and they're supposed to get summonses, court orders. They're not getting any of that.
Right.
So they're just released into our country. We don't know where they are. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know if they're out of prisons, insane asylums, if there were terrorists in their country. We have zero records. Okay? Many of them purposely toss whatever papers they have, so they have no record when they come to this country. So that's an open border, and that's a security risk. Are every one of these people evil? Absolutely not. But
some of them just want to leave their countries, but the problem is the way they're coming in.
Right.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate. Let's say we were fleeing Mexico. I don't know how long the immigration process is, and I'm sure a lot of people are.
They don't let you in Mexico. They have strict rules.
What do you mean they don't let you in?
You can't stay in Mexico as an American citizen.
Okay.
If you go the opposite way.
I said if we were Mexican and we wanted to flee Mexico to go to America.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you meant the other way around.
Why would anyone want to go to Mexico? The immigration process, how long does that process last? Because if they say you have to stay in Mexico as a defector for 60 days.
There have been people who have come to this country the legal route, and it's taken them, 10 years?
Right. That's a problem, too,
of course.
correct?
Our immigration system has been messed up for decades.
Right.
Decades.
But instead of fixing that's... Yeah.
They're never going to fix it. Remember that early podcast?
Yeah.
Because they but it's so bad now that even Democrats from places like Arizona, Texas, they're going to lose their seats if they don't do something, the federal government.
Yeah.
Because, it's that bad in cities that were... And remember, a lot of these cities have legal immigrants that came from these places. They don't want these people in our country because some of them, not all, some of them are bad people and they know it. And nobody's listening to them. Nobody gives a damn. They just want to flood our country with people from all over this world, pay them from cradle to grave with the idea that, it's cheap labor.
Yeah.
And they vote. Right.
So again, I do you think that problem ever gets solved? Probably not.
We started to solve it with the last administration, but I think
because of all the pushback you're going to get on both sides, I don't think it'll ever happen. I think the only way to solve that problem is you get rid of a two-party system, but that's never going to happen.
We don't have a two-party system. We have a uniparty now.
Yeah, basically.
We don't have two parties. We have them all voting for the same thing with just a handful of people eventually, doing a few things.
Fair point.
But it's fixable. But now you have some candidates talking about repatriation, and a lot of citizens in this country, this is their main voting issue. They'll make it about other stuff, abortion, whatnot. Everybody should care about this. Your generation should care about it. And you guys not you, but I mean your generation.
Yeah, our generation.
You're easily persuaded by the dangling carrot. Oh, look over here. While we flood the country with people because they're naive to what's going on, and the news doesn't talk about it.
In my opinion, is the ones that are truly the problem are the ones that are so old that by the time my generation's older, they'll probably be dead and gone anyway. Like, I don't know how much indoctrinating is passed down to the next whoever's going to take their seats. See what I'm saying?
You talking about political people?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking about the flooding of people into the country, because you have.
Yeah, but I'm saying the ideas of, like, who's going to tackle the immigration process? No one. They're going to keep pushing it off, or doing whatever they do is going to be as shit as it already is.
Well, I think the irony is they're flooding this country with potential Democratic voters, right, and workers,
Sure.
that you're going to so piss the people off of that background who are legal that they're not going to vote for it anymore.
Yeah.
And it eventually will backfire on a lot of Democrats. My concern is it will be too late from a financial infrastructure perspective for your generation, because there's a lot of not positive things down the road for your generation. There's a lower birth rate, right? There's economic restrictions, restructuring, a lot of things going on. You guys can't sustain it.
Oh yeah.
Right? And you have to sustain it. If not, everybody's going to be at the level of
Do you think
poverty.
we're going to outlast Rome? Ooh, that's a deep question for those of you that are like, whoa.
Well, we're only 250, 300, we're not quite 300 years old.
Close, right? Isn't that wild?
Yeah, well.
You think we're going to survive for another 500, right? Rome was 800 years?
Yeah, I think so.
How wild is that when you think about it? 800 years of power, and we haven't even broken 250. And at the pace we're going, guys.
And similar to us, Rome failed from within.
Yeah.
It starts from within. And that's why, everyone makes fun of all these people out there who are squawking about the First Amendment and whatnot. Those things are the cornerstone of keeping our country going.
Yeah.
People sound like MAGA nuts. Oh, yeah, MAGA nuts. Younger generations, mine included, we don't understand how important that stuff is until you lose it. That's why all the stuff we talk about with the censorship, right, on these media platforms and the new technology we have, it's a big problem because it affects your democracy. That's the cornerstone. You have to be able to have free speech. You can't police it. So, and the other 10 amendments.
I don't know what Rome's laws were exactly. Like, I don't think we were that far off from them. The only difference is ours are on paper. And now times have changed.
Well, and Rome was funky because you still had rulers from now and you had Caesars every now and then.
But you had
a republic.
Eventually when Caesar Augustus, I might be wrong here, but Caesar Augustus is the one that did the split party system.
They divided the kingdom, then there were 3 rulers, then it came back together. I mean, a lot of shit went on over those 800 years. It wasn't a pure democracy the whole time that I know of,
and
that I
got
remember.
Sections, like, parts of it was all one country, but it was divided up into parts. It's like.
But we supposedly, everyone mocks the forefathers. These were very bright, educated people. And they took the best of that culture, the ideas of the French. Then they took a lot of philosophical ideas, and they tried to say, all right, they screwed up in Rome. Let's make sure that doesn't happen again. What can we do? They never anticipated the crap that's going on now. I mean, they would. That's the first person I'm going to talk to is like the George Washingtons when I get to the other side. I think they're just going to be like, what the freaking idiots? You just messed up something up that was decent. Not perfect, but you know.
Right. To your point, they don't know. They didn't foresee this, and I don't think that I think the level of patriotism that the forefathers had, because they really wanted to build this a country. If you looked at the patriotism of politicians now, I think they would be like, these are like basically what the British were. Not ideology wise, but in their lust for power, I guess you could say, or that they're
the Patriots you're talking about back then, or you mean now?
I'm talking about what they all agreed on what they had to do
In general,
yeah.
they
debated,
they disagreed, and that was a good thing. That's the cornerstone of our country. You got to debate
but they
stuff.
didn't point fingers at each other of this is the reason that we have bad borders right now is because of you. They didn't do that. Right. They debated, they solved the problem. Nowadays we don't have that.
No, nobody debates anymore. Yeah. If you debate, you're racist. Now it's just name calling. It's ridiculous.
We're definitely the furthest we've been from what the forefathers wanted. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I would argue that we've. Well, we could go on for hours and hours about this, but it's not the same government that the forefathers had. Yeah, when we started instituting, but the society changed from 1787 to the 1800s. It didn't stay the same. The difference is our government has changed. It has become a behemoth, and it's not the three branches anymore. Now it's the EPA, the SEC, the DOJ, the FBI. These are all the three. They call it the alphabet. These are all the areas of our government that was never supposed to have the power that it has. Back to what I was saying. Washington, D.C. is the most beautiful city. It's growing at a time when we're in recession. It has some of the wealthiest neighborhoods. Why? All these people work for these organizations. Right. They have the power. They get paid. They have the tax dollars. It's going in their pockets. That was never what was intended.
Were the founding fathers, not forefathers, were the founding fathers all wealthy? No, right? I didn't think so.
No.
Right, the only ones that were wealthy.
And they never envisioned like a Dianne Feinstein. Remember, they didn't sit there and say, well, I'm a senator or I'm a representative.
Yeah,
no,
it was just,
I'm a surveyor.
Yeah.
I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I spend my time in my government. I do my term. It's my duty as a citizen. And then I get out. Right? Remember, George Washington, there was no precedence how long a president should be in office. They wanted him to stay like a king.
Yeah, until he ended up dying, and he was like, no, I can't.
But no, he said, no, I don't want to be a king. Yeah. That's not the role of the president. We had that. And I watched many young 13, 14-year-old men die and freeze to death because they didn't want a king. That mentality, for everyone's like, well, but they were slave owners. So you're right. Many of them were slave owners. Many of them didn't necessarily agree, but you couldn't change that institution overnight. You had to build a country first and put the amendments in place.
Right.
Then, and there's so many, amazing to me, how many black slaves at the time were smart enough to say, I will defend this country because what it stands for will get me out of this shitty situation if they believe it. And they believed it. Even the Thomas Jeffersons, it was as a paradox. I'm a slave owner, but I believe in freedom. Mm. It was the institution at that time. And as we're all witnessing, there's so many things ingrained in our government. Obviously not as evil as slavery, but things get in there. You can't change it overnight. But the goal is go back to the core of what our country was about. If you focus on that, like surprisingly, so many slaves did. They did in the Civil War too. They knew they were fighting for their freedom in our country because that was one of the reasons why we had a civil war. Slavery was one of the issues. Right. For us, to me, it was a major issue, but there were other things. These people actually fought. You got to give these people chops. They fought for a country that treated them like crap, but they knew if it works, what it stands for, I'm getting out of this mess. Because we're never going to get out of it just by somebody saying, "Oh, this is bad." It was too ingrained. There's a little
more to that.
Right. So it's a hopefully, I'd like to think on a positive note. We're taking huge steps backwards to move a lot of steps forward. Right. And it's not my generation. It's the younger generations that we really need to open their eyes up and think long term. When mom and dad aren't around anymore, what is this country going to look like? You want to pay for that?
Yeah. Ooh. All right, let's get to happier news. We just did an hour of politics. So this one goes back to what we talked about a couple podcasts ago, the whole Reddit thing. Remember how that guy, do you remember the Reddit situation where basically they were saying, hey, we have to start deleting some or you guys are going to have to start paying for server space essentially?
Yes.
So one thing that I thought was really cool, and one of my friends, she brought this up to me. So apparently it's I thought it was over. Like I thought that whole thing was faded. I don't keep up with Reddit. I don't use Reddit at all. But basically the concept of that whole riot sort of thing that they did ended up it still goes on. I didn't realize that it didn't end. It's still going.
Oh.
Right. So I thought this was kind of cool. So I didn't know about this. I'm sure anyone here that uses Reddit knows what this is. I just had no idea. So this is called Canvas. So this is like if you were to take all the communities and put them in a grid form, so everyone, it's kind of like what Meta did. Remember when we talked about the VR where everyone gets their own land?
Yeah.
That's kind of what this is, only it's not VR. It's just like all of these are subsections. So
yeah.
Like, this is a subset of the Reddit that's all French. So it's broken down by community.
Okay.
That makes sense,
that's
right?
British up there.
Yeah, these are all the British.
Okay.
Right? This is French, correct? Or am I
what? Oh, yeah. I didn't see what you're pointing at. I didn't notice the border.
The French flag?
Could be French.
This is probably pro-Ukraine or whatever, and you can see it's kind of faded.
That is Ukraine.
So, and then all like gaming communities up in the right.
I see. So they have country. Germany is up there.
Right. I just think it's kind of cool how they visualized all the communities in one grid. So each community is a dot, and you get to.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Why are some bigger than others?
So
are they bigger?
See these little dots? These just didn't get the memo. So that's a community or a bunch of communities that didn't understand that everyone was going white over here.
Gotcha.
The flag. So it's kind of neat how that works. But so going back to the big
What's
strike.
The black stuff?
So the those are all the rioters. Those are the ones that are like anti the payment system. So they've gone all black. So this is what it looked like. So July 20th. This is what it looks like right now. So this is like the people that are super anti. It says for those of you that can't see it. Yeah. So spez is the British word that starts with a T. TWA.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. You know? So I guess that's why they're. I don't want to say what's the word I'm looking for. I guess that's what they say to the CEO to kind of like that's. I guess there's an inside joke that I just don't get.
Okay.
So it's cool because they did a time lapse of how much it changed. So everyone started changing their colors. Like, see this one, all these guys went to like we're talking millions and millions of people. Right?
Okay.
So I just thought it was really neat. But what ended up happening is Reddit, the owners and stuff, like look at how bad it got here. See, it just right. The CEO and all the workers were like, "Yeah, screw this. We're gonna take over." So they basically took over all those communities and turned it into a.
Oh.
Yeah. So see, now it's gone. They were just like, "We're gonna do it," and then these are the ones left over, which is not that big.
What do you mean they took it over? Like they kicked them off?
Basically, yeah, they just took over the subreddit. Which I mean, talk about being a free website, and then like free as in like you have your freedom of speech and stuff.
Not anymore.
Nope, they just took it. So, but I just think it's so cool. I don't know. I like how this is what I get out of it. The fact that it's cool how they take all the communities and put it together. Like, I would love to see all the YouTubers on there and then just show their subscriber base, like how many.
Where are you? Are you on there somewhere?
I don't use Reddit, so no.
Oh.
But I just think that would be really cool. So, and but what I mean is like, you wouldn't be able to find me.
Right, it's small.
It's so small. But so if you look, this is all the Americans right here.
Right.
And they're the ones that they're subreddit groups that identify as being American and have to do with America, I guess. Mm-hmm. So it's funny how there's a visual representation of all the communities.
I recognize what is that, a frog down there?
Pepe. Yeah, Pepe the Frog.
A few sites use Pepe the Frog,
Let's see, it just not anymore. I think they banned it. But see, it's just I was just getting it just gets changed to the point where.
How often do they do this?
So this was a time lapse of like every other hour.
Oh.
So it was moving real quick.
And it's just based. The picture is generated on your what?
I guess you set your color, like you get a spot on the map, I guess, and then you change your color, and then based on, I guess it auto generates based on what your community is. So let's say I started.
Right. So this is a large community here. That big red
so
square.
Like this is all. This is a community that has to do with whatever that is. Turkey.
Turkey looks like it.
This is Brazil.
Gotcha.
And then this is, I don't know, maybe this has something to do with dogs.
But is it one or is it like multiples that have to do with Brazil that takes up the whole picture? Gotcha.
Multiples. So right in here, there's probably hundreds of thousands of subreddits.
Okay.
With countless amount of people in it. So.
And they create a picture out of it?
Yeah. I don't know how they do it, but they talk to each other. say this is our plot. If these
the
people
community
change,
does it, not Reddit.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, kind of like how when they do the Penn State whiteout games, like
Yeah.
you guys wear white, you guys wear black. I think that's how it works. Now, again, this is pseudoscience in the sense of I don't completely know, but the way it was explained to me is.
Can we say that's pancake?
With the K?
Yeah. Looks like your
Well,
K.
I think I'm in the gaming community ideally.
Looks like your
so.
K.
Trying to think of I saw the gaming community before, but I don't see it anymore. It was in the top right.
And if you're near your flag,
oh, there it is. It's right here. So I think I would fall in.
And people near the
that
flag
category.
is usually
Right, so that means that they're either located in that country and the subreddit's hosted there. Again, I don't know what
because if you're in gaming, they can't do the
Right.
countries in gaming.
Yeah. So see this cluster of crap?
Yeah.
My guess is those are really, really small pictures that we just can't make out from
Okay.
the photo.
Yeah.
So those are communities that don't have anything to do with that other community.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Okay. Remember, these are all the meme overlords, so I don't even belong in there.
Yeah.
But I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, that's neat.
So last thing there's a couple more I had, but we don't have to go through all those. Do you want to talk about the banking one, or do you think that this is?
It's short because it's just it's probably another depressing one. So what it's saying
we're
is
gonna be called the Womp Womp podcast.
Well, welcome to the world. So you
womp.
mentioned this. So $78 billion out of the banking system.
Right.
My take on this is the banks are getting kind of desperate.
So 1 second, let me just read the title for those of you that don't know what we're talking about or can't see it. It says $78 billion exits the U.S. banking system in 1 week as J.P. Morgan CEO issues alert on deposit flight.
Yeah.
I have no clue what that means.
So deposit flight means people pulling money out of deposits in the bank or money going out.
Right.
People pulling it or money going out. $78 billion went out in a week.
So this is the opposite of what happened in the Silicon Valley, or this is the same thing?
It's similar in the sense that the banks have spent a lot of money. Okay? It's not my take on it. It's a few things, but my take based on the article that as I read it is it's not just $78 billion of people pulling money out. Like the thing that happened on the West Coast. The banks crashed because their debt, the loans that they had out there that they invested in, were not as valuable, summing it up. So on their balance sheet, they had less money than what they were portraying. When people went to get their money out of the bank, it wasn't there. In this case, the CEO, Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan, is saying, just note, $78 billion has gone out in a week out of the banks. That's a problem. What are they using it for? Well, based on the article, apparently a lot of these banks are trying to compete with money market funds, which gives better interest rates, gives more money. So they use TPI, third-party
TPI,
intermediaries. Right. That's different groups that help promote the banks to get more deposits in. It could be a marketing group, but it could be outside investor groups. You have to spend money for that. So these banks are spending money in huge amounts to try and get more people to bring their money back to the bank. Okay? It's a concern and it's a warning because they know, as it says in the article, the commercial real estate market. Now, that's all your commercial businesses. Not where you live, not apartment buildings. It's commercial meaning
malls,
office buildings, storefronts.
Right.
It's about to crash. It's going to crash.
Ooh.
Okay? And when that happens, a lot of the banks have those assets on their books. Now the value of those assets are going to go down. So it's just like a warning, like, what's going on? We need to be careful here. Interest rates make a big deal.
Right.
One little tick throws a whole market into mayhem, and it affects deposits and everything else. So that was my take on the article. It's kind of a warning that a huge chunk of money a lot's going on in the banking industry. They're trying to be competitive with money market accounts. Those are your big ones, like your Vanguards, your BlackRocks, your Magellan funds, all these giant money markets, and the small ones too. Goldman Sachs, they have one. The small ones too, but they can pay you more than what a bank pays you.
Gotcha.
So they're spending a lot of money to try and boost deposits because they need to do that, bring more money into the bank.
I see. This one, a lot of people, we have a big game coming out this week called Remnant 2. Jason and I did a full walkthrough of this, the first game, a couple months ago. super excited for it, but this is where journalism gets me.
Ooh, good game let down by performance woes. That doesn't sound good.
I'll tell you.
More depression?
No. This is what I have a problem with a lot of these big like gaming news outlet companies.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they get what's called a review copy, which is basically before anyone else can get the game.
Right.
They give it out to certain companies and they get to review it. But they just choose, for the most part, they just choose a random employee and say, hey, go play this game and give a review. So the first thing this guy says, and I can tell he probably didn't play the first game all the way through. He says, okay, so early verdict. Pros, satisfying number of ways. Okay, cool. That we know. Bosses are challenging. Enemies aren't simple. Fine. Performance woes on PC. Well, we didn't get what kind of specs you're using for a PC. Sometimes nowadays, unfortunately, with
and we gotta assume that whoever played this game used the best possible PC, the best graphics.
But sometimes the best graphics, and the best graphic or components. I'm sorry. So like right now they have to do some things with Intel, not AMD processors. Like they're having a problem with them.
Okay.
So if this guy did this review on an AMD computer, well,
right, that's
you
subjective.
can't claim performance. Well, right.
I mean, everything's subjective. He's given his opinion, but that
then,
con is
and then
not
he
really...
says uninteresting story. Well, you would know from the first game it's not about the story, the style of game. Like, yeah,
right.
Cool. Jason and I skipped through the whole story the first time. It's not interesting, but that's not the point.
Okay.
That's like saying Dark Souls has one of the best narrative stories. It's like there's no narration in a Dark Souls game. It's all based on a couple blips essentially, and the rest is all done through lore that people figure out for the next 10 years. There's still stuff that comes out on Dark Souls 1 came out 2008 maybe, and people are still figuring out lore. Like, it's insane. Yeah, so you can't call it an uninteresting story when you didn't play the first game. It's not really meant to be an interesting story. It's made to be a grind of a game. Not like a Diablo, but it just bothers me because I feel like this is where we're going with a lot of these games. And you get the opposite. Like, I remember when Cyberpunk came out, everyone was super excited for it, but remember that game ended up flopping when all the YouTubers got it, and they were like, oh, all these magazine companies lied.
Oh.
So, it just...
How did they lie? They said it was more interesting
Yeah,
than
they were like, yeah.
Oh, they built it up.
Because it was made by a giant company, CD Project Red, or Project Red CD, I forget how you say it. But they did The Witcher 3. So they already had a good track record. So when they got the review copies for Cyberpunk, basically they said, it's got some problems, but it's such a good game. By the time it comes out, it's going to be all the bugs and glitches are gone. Turns out that wasn't the case, and for a whole year it was just a miserable mess.
Okay.
So every time one of these comes out, we lose faith in... We either set our expectations for the game too high, or we go way too low where we're told, hey, this game's going to suck, don't get it just yet. And then it ends up being a really good game. Right. So I'm tired of going by these journalists.
Yes.
I won't put this guy on blast, but I mean, I would say unless you've played at least 30 hours in the first game, I don't think you should be able to even write a review.
Chris, it's like the Barbie movie. Okay, I had high hopes, but in my heart, I knew they were going to ruin it.
Yeah. Ben Shapiro came out. Ben Shapiro said, for those of you that saw that on Twitter, he goes, I was forced into this. Yeah, okay. No, and he said, yes, we set our we set our eyes too high, and then we were let down. And that's what Barbie is.
Well,
my mom loves Barbie.
You have to understand, my generation, the thought of a real Barbie, even at the age of 58, makes me flutter.
Yeah, I get it.
And when they toy with us and say, oh, we're going to do a Barbie movie, we have this like expectation, okay? But you know in your heart they're going to ruin it. You just know it.
Right.
So even some of the reviews I read that were bad reviews, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to reserve my judgment, but now it's just getting overwhelmingly bad.
Worse. Yeah.
I don't want to ruin it for me.
How do you F a Barbie? That's what I want to know.
I know. I mean, they tried to make a story out of it. You know, it's fine, but they're trying to prove a point.
But I will say, I think if you were to strip away the narrative of the story, I think your generation of women just like the idea of seeing the houses and the Barbies because that's all you had growing up.
Come to life, yeah. Come to life.
So even if the story sucks, I mean, you still get to see what Barbie would look like in real life if it was a city.
Yeah, I mean, that's cute, but apparently that's not what the story's about. And she goes to the real world. I'm like, ugh, why you got to ruin it? She's having an existential crisis. Barbie does not have a crisis. That's the point.
I'm just waiting. I hope they have the paraplegic Barbie that's just like, hey, Bobby. Sorry. But yeah. The only other one that I had was they released the top 10 selling video games of all time, which we already kind of knew. Let's see how many of these you even know, Mom. I'm sure you will know most if not all. I feel like I should.
I'm not looking.
I should show you the game.
God of War.
I want you. No, unfortunately, it goes by copies.
Fortnite.
Free game, so you can't really go by that. I don't believe.
Zelda.
I don't think Zelda's in there. We'll see.
Oh my God, then I don't know any.
Well, I'll give you. No, you'll know them, but I should.
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. So see, with rise of popularity of Fortnite, CS:GO, PUBG, other games. So I don't even think those are in here. But number 10. This one came out. I mean, the Mario franchise, Super Mario Bros.
Right.
Came out in 85.
Wow.
1985.
Wow.
Reported to have a total of 50 million.
I guess so, because we had the. Yeah, that's okay. That's true.
I just don't know if that was the original. I don't know when the original came out, where it was like the Donkey Kong at the top, where you would throw the barrels all the way down. I don't know if that's the one they're talking about, but so Super Mario at number 10. Ready?
Witcher.
Oh wow, you knew that one.
Yeah.
Yep, that's The Witcher Wild Hunt, 50 million. CD Projekt Red. There we go. That's what it was called. So that's the game that they made before Cyberpunk, and it did really well.
Okay.
As you can see by the fact that it's number 9 on this list. I'm curious if you can figure out who the women are based on, because my mom's only reference is
the movie,
the TV
series.
show.
Yeah, and I guess.
Actually, I don't even know.
Is she supposed to be the queen that gets killed, and that's the granddaughter?
I believe so. Yeah.
And the dark one is the dark witch, but I don't know. This one, the queen witch or the teaching witch.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why I asked that question because I don't even know. Yeah, I'd have to look at. Let me look that up real fast.
But it's also number 3, so who knows? They might have all become different.
You'll know them because it's based off the Witcher 3.
Yennefer is she's the Triss. I think Triss is the one who's the next to the queen, and I think the queen is supposed to be the queen who dies.
Is this? Oh, I want specifically Witcher 3. This is not the Witcher 3.
Yeah,
there we go.
Just gonna say
that was all Witcher characters. I was like, dear God. Going through the keep and stuff.
There aren't real Witcher characters yet. Right? Oh, Geralt. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Geralt's the.
But
main.
The other ones they don't.
There's
Ciri. Ciri is the granddaughter. Yeah. Right. That he's the.
I never saw
gift.
The show.
What's it called? The Gift of the Innocent or the.
Oh,
the thing
it's
you
been
didn't
so
know.
long since I played The Witcher.
It's.
You guys let me know. That's what the podcast question will be. Should we go through The Witcher again? It's been probably 8 years since I've done The Witcher. Again, Mom, with the
sorry, I keep hitting it.
Just like how she hits her.
I gotta move away. Back of the hand.
Jeez, sorry about that. I hope that wasn't static for that long. But yeah, so maybe that'll be the podcast question.
Okay.
Should we go through The Witcher 3? I'm not doing 1 and 2. Those games suck.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it's Witcher 3, she can't be the mother the grandmother because she dies in the first one. Ciri's grandmother dies in the first one.
The shows are not based on the games.
Okay. Well, then I would know these.
So you would. The TV show, I believe, takes place kind of in between the second game and the end of this game, I believe. There's something beforehand, which is when Geralt's becoming the Witcher, like when he goes.
Oh, see, we don't have that in the show because he's just as a Witcher when it starts.
Beforehand, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so we come in, but
Ciri doesn't come till the third game, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but this is
the third game, the Wild Hunt, right? So Ciri just comes into this one.
Yeah. So Ciri is Well, I don't know how to answer this without spoiling it for you, but this is when she's older. I don't know how old she is in the.
She's just getting her witchcraft, and Yennefer's helping her.
Yeah. So in this, it's kind of a pseudo story, but at this point, she's already Yennefer's not even really in the picture anymore.
Oh, okay. So that's not dark-haired Yennefer.
She actually, Well, yeah.
She might be Yennefer, the queen. I don't know if like Yennefer gets elevated in the.
Yennefer has the black hair, right?
Well, I don't know if it changed for the game. I don't know if they're all the same, but yes, no, Yennefer's dark haired in the.
Well, they
TV
picked
series.
the characters for the show based on the game.
Oh, okay.
So that's all I know.
The one in the one with the shorter blonde hair, that might be Triss, the kind of like the teacher of the headmistress.
That could be right.
She looks like that.
Did they talk about the keep at all, or is it just referenced in The Witcher?
The keep is the school where the witches go. Yeah, that's part of it because that's what Yennefer.
So then maybe
trains.
it does. Oh, okay. If Yennefer's there, then no, it can't be. Again, I think we might just have to go through the Witcher series again. Maybe we'll do The Witcher 1. Yellowstone.
Yeah, it really
Close,
looks like
though.
it.
This is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That's actually pretty impressive how it did that well. So that game only came out maybe 4 years ago. So that's pretty impressive to do.
2018 it says.
Yeah, that could be right.
2018, that's 5.
This one. This is where Game of Thrones basically comes from.
I don't know that one.
Skyrim.
Oh.
God, this was.
I never heard that.
This is where I think this number's a little flubbed. Let me tell you, I'm giving a little history lesson for each one of these games. The problem with this game is that they've remade it so many times. So this came out when I was probably in like grade school, or initially was 2011. So yeah, I was a freshman in high school when this came out. But here's the problem, right? They've remade this so many times. Every time a console came out, they remade it. So right. I don't know if it really counts if you're doing it that way. You can't just keep making it for every console and go 60 million sold. But I don't know. Maybe that's the same for Mario. So who knows?
Mario again.
Mario Kart, come on.
Oh. Specifically
Mario Kart 8. I don't know why.
I didn't realize
Mario
there was a
Kart's
difference.
fun, but there's a difference, mother.
Yeah, okay.
Now, ready for this one's gonna have the most history. This is called PUBG. You ever heard of that? Yeah. Player Unknown's Battlegrounds. Let me tell you the history of this game. You'll like this because there's a little not politics, but so there was a game a long time ago called Arma. Arma was the most realistic military game. They actually used it in the military to train soldiers, just from like but that nowadays they do it all in VR. So this guy back in the day for Arma is basically what started the modding community. So whenever Jason and I download like certain maps for things, it just goes right through the Steam website.
Okay.
So back when Arma was first came out, there's a guy named Player Unknown who made something called the DayZ mod, which is basically Hunger Games. That's where Hunger Games comes from. Oh. So he later on was given the opportunity to make its own game. A publishing company said, "Hey, we like the mod that you made. We're gonna make a game with your idea." So they came out with a game called H1Z1, which was really popular when I was growing up, but it had so many problems.
Okay.
So many problems, and they were the only game out there that was that style. So people would be like complaining all the time. They said, "We're the only ones out there. We don't have to listen to you."
Right.
So this Player Unknown guy, he still had the patents and the rights to his mod. So he said, "Okay, I'm going to take it and go somewhere else, and I'm going to make another game called Player Unknown's Battlegrounds." So I'm sure there was lawsuits on if like getting rights back and what would happen to H1Z1. And what ended up happening is this game ended up doing so well. Those guys at High Res Studios that made H1Z1, they were like, "Please come back to us. Please, we'll do everything that you want." And it just failed. Now it's like a racing game. It's terrible, right? No one plays it.
So he didn't go back, or did?
No, he made his own company. I forget what the company's called, but he made his own name. So the game's called Player Unknown's Battlegrounds. Player Unknown was the name of the guy that made the original mod. Made what's called Player Unknown's Battlegrounds. And what's funny is this game was good, but what made it really popular is that they made a mobile version. The mobile version, I'm surprised it's not higher on the list. Overseas, it's like the #1 game on cell phones. So the way this game fell, though, is they asked for. So originally it started as I think it started as free to play, and then it went to you have to buy it, right? And it was crazy amounts of money, and then they added the battle pass because this was basically Fortnite's competition at the time. Oh. This was the realistic Fortnite without the building and the crap that Fortnite has. But so they asked for money, and the money was supposed to go to improvements for the game. And what they ended up doing instead was they put it towards the console version. So they took the money and they said, a better idea for better sales is we're going to make it for Xbox. This was only PC.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to make it for Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. And it ended up flopping incredibly hard because the controls were just terrible.
Oh, interesting.
So since then, I don't see any PUBG content anymore. That was a couple years ago.
Oh. So you can only do this on Xbox?
Well, now you could play it on everything, but now you can play it on Xbox and PlayStation. But it was borderline unplayable. So
they fixed it, and you can do it now, or it's still unplayable.
I don't know. I've never played the console versions, but I mean, I've never touched this game since. It's just been such a mess. I'm sure it's better now, but that ship sailed. There's too many.
Well, we talked about PlayStation. They're doing a portable version,
right?
So
I was thinking of talking about that today, but it's cool. It's not really a portable version. It's basically a subset of your PlayStation. So let's say I had my PlayStation here, and we were going to grandma's or something. I could just turn it on and play my PlayStation from grandma's.
That far? Oh, that's interesting.
It's just over Wi-Fi. So, number 3. Wii Sports. Do you remember Wii Sports when it came out? Man, I remember. So I think Wii Sports came with the Wii because I don't remember people actually just buying it.
Yeah, I think it was part of the package. Yeah, when you bought a Wii.
I just remember when the Wii first came out. For those of you that aren't old enough yet to, or old enough to remember the Wii, I just remembered everyone we knew had one of these. I would go over to Max's house, remember?
Yep. Everyone had a Wii.
I would play it, or the Brendan's house.
Yeah. Because they touted it as like, oh, everybody could do it. The whole family can use the Wii.
Yeah, it was fun.
But
it was fun. But now when you go back and touch a Wii, you're like, this thing sucks. Right. Like the tracking's terrible. Right. It's so funny. But yeah. So Grand Theft Auto 5 sold 180 million, which is, I mean, think about that. That's
now is 5 their latest?
5 is the latest.
Edition?
It's been around for a while.
Okay.
That came out, I'm gonna say 2014, 2013. So still going strong. They just announced 6, which is huge. Remember we talked about the hacking and stuff. So this game.
When's that coming out? 6.
We don't know yet. They've teased it, as they say, but
gotta be close to the holidays. If they're gonna do it,
it's not coming out this year.
Oh,
it's probably like 2025 or something like that. They're putting $2 billion into production. That's the most we've ever seen in a video game. I think the only one that might come close is Cyberpunk because they had to fix it, and it probably cost hundreds of millions to do. So
Minecraft.
Wow, I'm surprised you got that one just based off that. Yeah 238 million copies.
Wow.
You should see. There's a huge backstory. I strongly recommend. There's a guy named Sunny V2 that we've talked about him before, but he talks about the downfall of the guy that made this game.
Yeah.
Just multi-billionaire, but like had a depressing life, like no friends or anything, and he kind of just thought he could pay for friends, and it just went downhill real bad. Really interesting story.
Can you imagine how much money Matt Groening is making?
Who?
From Matt Groening, the creator of the Simpson characters. He probably gets a piece of this.
Oh, is that the guy that made the Simpsons?
Yeah,
Matt Groening.
Matt Groening is he was the cartoonist that started the Simpsons.
Oh.
That's why his name's on there. They have to give him credit. I wonder if he gets a piece of this.
Probably. Maybe.
Probably does.
I doubt it. For Minecraft, no, because that's not base game. Those are people that put skins modded on. The base character for Minecraft is a guy named.
That said Simpsons.
Yeah, but it is Simpsons, but it's not. That's not base.
Well, then I guess they're using that to push it, to advertise it.
Minecraft Steve. That's what he looked like. That's the actual character.
Oh.
Yeah, that you play as.
Well, for some reason, The Simpsons.
Do you think you can guess number 1? I'm gonna give my mom a hint. It's your era, very popular. And then I'll give you a couple sentences if you need a hint. Right, I'll give you shapes.
Tetris?
Wow, you nailed it. Yeah. Right off the right. Tetris sold 520 million copies, which is nuts.
In total, like in its lifetime,
in its lifetime, has sold 200 or 500.
Still higher than all the other stuff
combined. Isn't that wild?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, I've only played Tetris a handful of times.
Cultural phenomenon.
Does it say when it originally came out?
I'm looking. 1988.
Biggest trade. It was discovered.
Discovered the game at a Las Vegas trade show in '88. That the game really picked up steam, though. Rogers got the rights from Pechtonov. Licensed it to Nintendo, which released it as a pack-in for Nintendo Game Boy.
Have you ever seen what professional Tetris looks like?
A movie about the origins starring Taron Eger was released. I don't remember that movie.
I think I did. I believe
I
saw clips of it. No, but apparently it's interesting. Professional.
You asked me, what was your question?
Have you ever seen what professional Tetris looks like?
No, I have not.
I've never. So this is the. Oh, we're not watching.
You mean watching people play it?
Yeah. You gotta see what professional Tetris looks like. I do want to know.
I'm trying to remember the game. I used to be in all the. I think they had it in the Fordham game room. Game rooms would have the I'm trying to remember what the screen looked like.
What, asteroids or something?
I remember the one with I forget what that was called, where things would come down, you have to shoot it, and you go back and forth, and you shoot the stuff as it came down. Ooh. That was in Tetris, was it?
So this is what it would look. Oh, this is sped up, but this is what it looks like. So I didn't realize that the scroll of Tetris.
I do remember, but no, I never played that. I didn't play a lot of video games, but that one's.
But
the kid's got a glove on. That's weird.
So I don't know. So what's it? Some people, whatever gives you the win, Mom.
What are they doing? They all have a glove.
It's just I think it's to. That's a good question. I'm gonna take a guess here because I'm not sure. So what's interesting is see how they're holding one hand over
to counterbalance or something.
It's not that he's physically pressing the button; he's pushing the controller up to him to hit the buttons properly.
Okay, so it's some sort of.
And my guess is he does that to not get his hands stuck because remember they're playing for a while.
Okay, and they use the glove because it slides.
Yeah, probably for less friction or something.
Oh, okay. So he's not using his left hand at all.
See, he keeps his fingers.
He uses the right hand to make the pressure. Oh my God! Who thought of that?
Well, I think these games last really to beat Tetris. I think it takes hours.
Well, I don't know what the concept is.
So you have to get 4 in a row. But I watched the video. This isn't the video, but I watched a guy. So this is 2 different people, I think. Right?
It's insane. My God, I would go crazy doing that all day long.
Oh man, you should see some of the.
These people must go insane.
Well, I do the pancake PRs where we speedrun games. I want to show you. Do you remember Super Mario 64? Maybe you know it if you saw it.
Yeah, I know Super Mario, but I don't know these games.
64 speedrun. You got to see how people break these games. It's stupid, but truthfully, because back then, right, there were no. This is the 6-minute speed run. You gotta see how people just break a game because back then there were no real limits. So old. 6. Okay, so you just have to see how people break the.
Could he make his bed before he does his podcast or whatever he's doing, his stream? Make your bed, okay? Do you not see what's behind you?
Yell at him, Mom. Try and see if. Oh wait, what is this? Oh, it's like.
But I'll give him credit. He's dressed nicely and his hair looks okay.
Why is it? I don't know why he has it like this. The screen's messed up, I think, because of the TV. So it's not letting me full screen it. But I mean, when you see what these people do during speed runs to literally break the game, I don't know how many hours it takes to figure out certain things.
Oh.
So that's baffling to me. But yeah, that's all I had. We did another. I expected this to only be like an hour 30 or an hour, and we just did an hour 30. So, again, don't know if I can call it a happy podcast.
Happy gaming people love the countdown.
True.
That's a happy one.
Yeah. So
hey, I can bring lots of happy next time. But you
I feel like
you
have to make up for this week. Which is
I can bring.
Hey, we're not gonna last very long. We only have a couple more years. The housing market's going to be a crisis.
You mess me up because then I come with all these happy ones, and then you bring let's talk about Biden and the Hunter. Okay, fine. We talk about that. So now I come with political stuff, and then you hit me with, this is so depressing.
I meant hit some of the I meant hey, let's just catch up with the news, not let's have barbed wire on. Even though that is an important one, obviously. Well, but I know what you're saying.
But you left out the most important stuff that was in the news.
Well, that's fine. I don't know.
If you want to talk political stuff, that was pretty important.
It was. It was. That's true.
You can't leave that stuff out. But I still think even all that stuff as important as it is, nothing's as important as that wall. You guys better watch that wall. Look at it, Dougie.
Yeah, someone posted. Oh, I saw. Our first meme of the week. Are you? Do you want to do a meme of the week real fast? And basically, we're just gonna go through the memes that. We sent the other day. I don't think we have any other ones, but I went through some of these throughout the week, just trying to find the funniest ones, but I don't remember all of them. Which one was this?
That's a Wii, isn't it? Wii game.
No, the judgmental dog. Which one's this? Accidentally.
Oh, did anybody have any questions too?
No questions.
Okay.
Oh, look at this. This guy just makes everything into a pizza.
Oh,
they make fun of me because I'm Italian.
Oh,
it's like,
that sounds disgusting.
And look what he does with pasta. The rest isn't that bad. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So he takes a hot dog. Actually, let me mute this just in case.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I know you guys might not be able to see it because it's small, but I like how I thought that was smart. He puts the hot dog in the, like that one I eat. The only one I wouldn't eat so far is the watermelon one.
Yeah, that was kind of gross. The
watermelon one's disgusting, but this.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Yeah. This I thought was neat because it is possible, but so he's basically making chocolate pasta. So he freezes it. See, I thought that was pretty good.
Oh my gosh.
This one I saw. So this one was more so news. That's why I thought this one was funny. Well, not funny, but this guy. I guess I just off-roaded. Ready? Watch this.
Oh,
isn't that wild?
Oh no, I saw that. It was a woman.
Oh, it was?
Yes, and there was a 3-year-old.
Makes sense.
There was a 3-year-old on the bed. I think.
See what I mean? I had a joke and then you made it depressing.
Yeah. Well, that was the only person that I heard was involved. I think the mother was there too, but I think the kid was okay. It was just good. Like, can you imagine that? You're sitting there, a car goes flying through your window.
Yeah, I mean that's wild. And see what I said? But did the package get delivered?
Oh,
I think
God.
they deserve a raise. Right? I think that's all of them. I don't think we had any others. I don't think we have it. Oh, this is the one I wanted to show you. Travis had a good one.
Yes, booked a singular front row. Yeah.
Front row.
Oh my God. Terrible.
It's a good one. Absolute man who booked a singular front row ticket to Oppenheimer in IMAX 70mm City Walk on the opening preview night. Oh, that's funny. That is a good one.
Yeah,
I like that one.
That was funny.
I wish I gotta figure out another way to. I like the idea of the meme of the week because we always post memes. Like as a community, we post memes in the Discord. I just feel like there's a better way of checking them. Like this is not the best way.
To go through
so I have to figure those out. I don't even remember all of these. I'm sure most of these are inappropriate, but
you couldn't post the cat one.
Which one? She's
happy. She likes it.
Oh yeah, that is a good one. I don't think.
I still laugh.
When the cat's like. All right. Well, we'll end it there. So the only thing I have to promote for the week was okay, so we had the podcast last week, 54. This is 55. Wednesday I did Bard's Tale 4, which is it. Talk about a game that Bard's Tale real fast. So I did the first one during Xbox Game Pass Roulette, and they came out in the 88 to 93. So they came out the newest one, which came out recently. It's amazing how far that game's come in 20 years, you know? So they nailed it.
Hey, baby.
And then on top of that, today, Saturday, I posted a video on a big escape room that came out on Escape Simulator. All the community creators came together and made one map. So Jason and I did a walkthrough for it. Strongly recommend checking that out. And then this comes out on Monday, so obviously watch this. And then we're going to finish up the Talos Principle, which is that puzzle game. And then Tuesday we start Remnant 2 with Jason. And then that's pretty much it for the week. We're going to do one more speed run of the last Wolfenstein game, not the crappy 2-player one, the good one. And we should be done for the month. And then after Remnant, we start Dark Souls 2, which I know everyone's been waiting for. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Social media down below, promo codes down below, other stream links down below, as well as Discord down below for any hot takes, podcast questions, meme of the week, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Did we post a question last time? I thought we had one. Podcast question.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I have to check the analytics on Spotify. Yeah. I never got to. So I also put just so you guys know, I put the meme, the podcast question in the description for
the
summary. Yeah, so it's in there. maybe I'll put it as a comment and pin it so that you guys can respond to it for now on, just so that's easier. So you can get it on Spotify or on YouTube. But
we'll bring more happy next time.
Let's make it. I feel like ever since Alan and Kenny and those guys, I feel like it's just been downhill. I was gonna do a death today. Like, thank God I didn't.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys.